Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel and the final tier in this episode. Now, today we are looking at what I think personally is the strongest tier 10 in the game, and that is the Type 71. Of course, you have to run it with the improved suspension. A few people would run it with the improved gun depression, but personally, you should be running it with the improved suspension. Now, this tank is a Japanese heavy tank. It is one of the newest tanks in the game. The turret is absolutely fantastic. The hull is absolutely fantastic. The DPM not too shabby either at 2,000, almost 2,600. Reload time, again, very good for what it is at just, well, 9.3 seconds. The penetration, not bad, 255. On the heat, it is 330. Of course, you can pump that up if you run it with calibrated shells, which I probably would recommend, because that then brings your heat pen up to 363, which you're going to be able to pen most things with heat. Now, it has a 400 alpha gun, 340 on your heat and 515 on your HE. Aim time 3.7 and the dispersion 0.344, and of course it has 6 degrees of gun depression if you run in it with improved suspension. If you don't run it with improved suspension, you will get 9 degrees of gun depression, which is still good, and the tank is still good because it has a super strong turret. And if you're using that 9 degrees of gun depression, it is very difficult to be able to penetrate this tank. But running it with the improved suspension just makes the tank much more fun to play. It really is so much more fun to play running it with the improved suspension. Your traverse is really good. Your track traverse is really good, and you've still got that turret armor. Yes, you don't have 9 degrees of gun depression to go with it, but you still have that turret armor. People struggle to come up against the Type 71. Now, my original review of the tank was it's kind of meh, because I just looked at the stats of the tank, I looked at the statistics, looked at the armor profile in the game, and I thought, you know what, that's not actually that good. But when I actually went into game and see the Type 71 on the battlefield, it was just almost impossible to penetrate this tank, especially coming up against it with a medium tank. It really is difficult to penetrate this tank unless you're in that kind of angle that STB is at. And of course, if you do turn your turret, they can penetrate you quite easily. But so far, yes, we're getting penned, but we have bounced 940 damage so far. And for somehow, I mean, at the moment, it is a 7 versus 5. We're going to manage to stay alive. We've now bounced 1,500 damage. We've got ourselves 1,400. We're about to get a little bit more. I mean, we're not going to finish this game on a crazy amount of damage. It's not about, for me, this game isn't about the damage. It's all about the block damage and how the F did I stay alive. So we've now got the VK joining this yo. Of course, I'm going to hide behind the yo. We bounced 2,700. Of course, for me to stay alive, we're going to have to bounce a little bit more. So I'm just going to face this guy. He's trying to aim at our hatch, but if you just wiggle, it really makes this tank much more difficult to penetrate. So we're on 2.6k damage, nothing special. Again, the damage is nothing special, but we've managed to bounce 3.8, and this VK at this point has just gave up. He's just like, you know what, I don't care about you. I'm going to ignore you because you're just impossible to penetrate. And that is what it is. Everyone struggles to penetrate this. With normal rounds, people will have to switch to premium round to penetrate that unless you get a good shot. But you can see still wall, no problem whatsoever. Now, I do like playing this tank like a medium. I don't really like too much going with the heavies, even though you can. It is a frontline tank. For me, it is a frontline tank. Whether you go with your mediums, whether you go with your heavies, it is a frontline tank. You can go frontline against the heavies because they will still bounce you. But for me, I just like going to support my mediums because they're going to struggle to, the other enemy mediums will struggle to penetrate you more than a heavy or a tank destroyer will. But you have to wait. You have to sort of go into game, and you can't always just say, no, I'm going to go with the mediums, because it doesn't always work like that. There's some maps that you think, right, I need to be in this position, because you still got to remember you do have that turret armor, so you can't just go with the mediums all the time. So this game here is going to be an absolute brilliant game. You can see how many tanks he's got in front of him, and there is his first bounce on that Jaeger, which has all the pen in the world. Literally, that Jaeger has however much pen he wants, especially with heat. But yeah, still 800 bounce, which that means he was probably I think he was using the normal rounds. But just look at this, 1900 block damage, and he is still full hit points, and the Jaeger is still staring at him. Is he going to be able to penetrate him? No, he isn't. So within a minute of the game, just over a minute, 2700 block damage, and our guy here is still full hit points. He should have been dead right now. He should have been dead, and that is what this tank is capable of. It's not about the DPM. It's really not. The DPM is good enough as it is for what it is, because it does have that armor profile. Do I think that this tank eventually is going to get nerfed even more? Of course, I do think that Wargaming eventually will nerf the armor profile on this tank. To be honest, I do think they need to. You know, you can't really have a tank like this that has a super strong hull and a super strong turret. I do think that Wargaming will either nerf the turret or nerf the hull. If they do, don't blame me, because they're not going to watch this video, and this is what annoys me with some people. When me, Droodles, Pantooth, anyone does a video saying that this tank's too strong, you always get the comments, dude, why'd you say this? Now Wargaming are going to nerf it. No, they don't nerf it because of our videos. They nerf it because they look at stats and they can clearly see, according to their data, that the tank is too strong. Now, as you can see here, it is a 3 versus 5. He is going to get penned in a minute, but 3.3k blocked damage, and there is a bit more. 4.1k block damage, and he is still yet to lose a single hit point. Over 4,000 blocked damage. That is absolutely insane. So 4k damage as well. He's going to now come behind here, clear the E100, but yeah, that was a very troll bounce, and actually a troll bounce that he could deal without right now, especially as it is a 2 versus 4. Now, the T57 is the next culprit to struggle to penetrate our guy. 4.5k damage. Here comes the E100. Can he clear him? Yes, he can, but he does eventually lose his first bit of hit points. So that is now 4.5 block damage, 4.8k damage, and now he is on his own against 3 tanks. It's still going to be a difficult task. The Centurion is coming. The T57, as we know, is a very dangerous target, and another tank out there as well, but he is still getting block damage up to 5,000, just about 5, well, now 5.2k. When you've got a T57 in front of you and a Centurion with Hesh behind you, you should not be pulling off this win. Of course, he's going to focus the Centurion. The T57 is now on a reload, so he's just going to ignore that guy and go for the Centurion. Absolutely the right choice to go for. He's the DPM, he's got the Hesh, and ultimately he's a dangerous target. So he does finally clear him. He is now a one-shot against 2 tanks. He's going to need quite a few bounces, and what is he going to get? He's going to get a few bounces. Yeah, I don't know why that guy's shooting HE there. He does a bit of damage to himself. So now the T57 is on a long reload. Our guy in the Type 71 will be able to reload twice, at least twice, before the T57 has reloaded. So far, 6.9k, 6,900 block damage. Now, of course, he does get a bit lucky. He does get lucky, very lucky indeed, to get 7,000 block damage and now up to 7,700 damage. The tank is insane. And of course, yes, you can see the enemy team there. Lucky. Still 2 minutes on the clock, and he just needs to find this last target. Now, as I've said, he does get lucky because this last target, I believe, is AFK. Now, would he have won this if this guy wasn't AFK? probably not know. But it's not about the win. I didn't really want to show this game because of the win. I really wanted to show it because the amount of damage he does, but more importantly, the amount of damage, block damage this guy does. And this is what this tank is absolutely capable of, and why I believe that this tank is currently the strongest tank in tier 10. And until Wargaming nerf the armor profile somehow, whether they do, whether they don't, I honestly don't know. What they're going to nerf in the future, I don't know what I would want them to nerf. Obviously, I don't want them to nerf anything. I love the tank how it is, but come on, let's be realistic. It is too strong. Very, very well played there. And you can see there, over 8,000 damage and over almost 7,000 blocked damage. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. I'm meadsy69, and I will catch you all soon. Bye-bye.